Novak Djokovic is sent back to notorious immigration detention hotel ahead of final court showdown as angry tennis superstars voice their frustration over world number one's visa scandal. Novak Djokovic has been hauled off to immigration detention after his visa was again cancelled, as top players took swipes at the unvaccinated champion. The Serbian tennis star was spotted being driven inside the Park Hotel compound at Carlton in Melbourne on Saturday afternoon, where he must remain until his federal court appeal is heard on Sunday morning. It is expected the champion player, who has polarised opinions around the world, will spend at least one more night in the notorious detention centre alongside asylum seekers. On Saturday he spoke with immigration officials at an undisclosed location at 8 a.m. Border authorities later detained the 34-year-old following a court-ordered arrangement. Djokovic's lawyers then made their submissions during the online federal court hearing presided by Judge David O'Callaghan at his solicitor's offices at 10:15 a.m. Djokovic was driven inside the Park Hotel compound at Carlton in Melbourne on Saturday afternoon, where he must remain until his federal court appeal is heard on Sunday morning. Media and protesters gathered outside the notorious detention centre hotel where the unvaccinated Serbian tennis star is housed. Pro-refugee protesters assembled out the Carlton hotel that Djokovic was taken back to on Saturday. His crack legal team is expected to have a tougher time overturning the latest visa ban than they did on January 10, when Australian Border Force officials had him detained the first time. The Serbian superstar remains the focus of world attention and a magnet for fiery debates about health, science, politics and immigration. Anti-vax supporters and anti-immigration detention protesters assembled at Rod Lava Arena and outside the notorious detention centre where some asylum seekers have been housed for years. At the tennis stadium 200 anti-vaccine protesters chanted "Free Novak and let him play" as well as various slogans opposed to vaccines and mask mandates. Young US Open champion Emma Raducanu said the scandal had become a distraction. Novak's big rival Rafael Nadal said no one is bigger than the Australian Open. Djokovic was seen arriving in the back of a white sedan as he re-entered the detention hotel compound wearing a green tracksuit and white face mask. As the Australian Open top seed went back into the facility, the rival racing to claim a record 21 Grand Slam titles, Spaniard Rafael Nadal, said the fiasco has been a distraction. "Honestly, I'm a little bit tired of the situation because I just believe that it's important to talk about our sport, about tennis," Nadal said. "There is no one player in history that is more important than an event, no. It will be a great Australian Open with or without him." Novak Djokovic is gunning for his 21st Grand Slam title, which would see him surpass fellow legends Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. Tsitsipas, who was beaten by Djokovic in the French Open final last year, said the Serbian world number one was playing by his own rules. The world number 4 player in the men's draw, Greek Stefanos Tsitsipas, blasted Djokovic for making his vaccinated fellow players look like fools. The stats say 98% of players have been vaccinated and did what they had to do in order to come and perform and play in Australia, Tsitsipas told Indian network WIO News. "A very small group chose to follow their own way and it kind of makes the majority look like they're all fools or something." Meanwhile, brilliant young US Open champion Emma Raducanu shared her thoughts on the scandal. "I feel it has taken away a little bit from the great tennis that's been happening over this summer in Australia, like in that way it has been a distraction." She believed people were missing the performances of other stars worthy of attention, such as returning Brit Andy Murray. The key reasons behind Djokovic's visa cancellation were revealed on Saturday, with Minister Alex Hawke saying his presence in Australia may foster anti-vaccination sentiment. Mr. Hawke announced on Friday he had cancelled the Serbian tennis star's visa for a second time, citing a long list of reasons including that Djokovic showed an apparent disregard to isolate following a positive test result. The key reasons behind Novak Djokovic's visa cancellation have been revealed, with Immigration Minister Alex Hawke saying his presence in Australia may foster anti-vaccination sentiment. Court documents show the reasons for Mr. Hawke's cancellation of Djokovic's visa. Djokovic also posed a risk to the good order of the Australian community, Mr. Hawke said, in that his stay in Australia may create public disruption to values of the Australian society. Immigration Minister Alex Hawke cancelled Djokovic's visa for a second time. The Serbian star is fighting his deportation. I consider that Mr. Djokovic's ongoing presence in Australia may lead to an increase in anti-vaccination sentiment generated in the Australian community, potentially leading to an increase in civil unrest of the kind previously experienced in Australia with rallies and protests which may themselves be a source of community transmission, Mr. Hawke said as seen in court documents. The drama around the Novak Djokovic affair is set to be captured in a docuseries that will be a tennis version of Drive to Survive. Sportsmail understands that a crew is already in Australia filming what has been the most explosive start to a tennis season in recent years, thanks to the fiasco surrounding the world number one. The sport's usually disjointed governing stakeholders have united to support and approve the new project, that will eventually air on Netflix. Novak Djokovic's Australian Open epic visa saga. Novak Djokovic's defence of his Australian Open title remains in doubt after Australian immigration officials cancelled his visa for the second time. Here's how the saga has unfolded. January 4, Djokovic tweets that he is on his way to the Australian Open under a medical exemption. He writes on Instagram, "I've spent fantastic quality time with my loved ones over the break and today I'm heading down under with an exemption permission. Let's go 2022. January 5, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison warns Djokovic he will be on the next plane home if his medical exemption is deemed insufficient, and is adamant Djokovic will not receive preferential treatment. January 6, Djokovic is sent to the Park Hotel in Melbourne after being refused a visa. He launches an appeal, which is adjourned until 10 a.m. on January 10. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić says Djokovic is the victim of persecution. January 9, Djokovic's lawyers claim he was granted a vaccine exemption to enter Australia because he recorded a positive COVID-19 test in Serbia on December 16. However, social media posts suggest he attended a number of social events in the days following his apparent diagnosis. January 10, Djokovic's visa cancellation is quashed by Judge Anthony Kelly, who orders the Australian government to pay legal costs and release Djokovic from detention within half an hour. Djokovic says he is pleased and grateful and wishes to stay and try to compete. January 11, Djokovic's title defence remains in doubt as the Australian immigration minister ponders whether to override the court's ruling, reportedly due to an alleged misleading claim made by Djokovic on his entry form relating to his movements in the 14 days prior to arrival in Australia. January 12, Djokovic admits making an error of judgment by attending an interview with a French journalist while COVID positive. He adds that, although he attended a children's tennis event the day after being tested, he did not receive notification of the positive test until after the event. January 13, Djokovic is drawn to face fellow Serb Mijomir Kekmanovic in the first round. January 14, Immigration Minister Alex Hawke cancels Djokovic's visa for a second time, saying in a statement it was on health and good order grounds.